I've been living in Palermo for 1 year, but I've been visiting it consistently for around 4 years. And there are some key things that not many people, including travel agents, will tell you about Palermo. Unless, of course, you're a local, in which case you probably know what I'm about to share with you in today's video. Now, my first tip to you is going to be to avoid visiting Mondello Beach in the month of August. Now, this goes against a lot of travel guides' recommendations in the sense that Mondello is a well-renowned location here in Palermo that is spectacular to visit apart from the month of August. If you don't believe me, have a look at some of these reviews over on TripAdvisor. August in Palermo is ridiculously busy. It is the peak month for tourism, not just internal tourism, as in Italians from different regions visiting Palermo, but also external tourism, so tourists coming from other countries to visit Palermo. So when you combine those together, along with any locals that dare to venture to Mondello during that time, that is a lot of people. And the problem with the beach at Mondello is that during the summer months, the majority of the beach is taken up by lidos, leaving a very, very small stretch of beach available for free public use, which essentially means that unless you want to fork out for a bed and an umbrella at a lido in Mondello, you are going to be fighting for your space with many, many, many other Italians during that month. And trust me, the free stretch of beach during that month gets very dirty and very crowded very quickly. So it's not the best location. The water isn't as magnificent during that month due to the sheer volume of people that are in the water and using it. And it's just not as magical a place as it is if you were to visit Mondello during the season of spring or autumn, for example. So this is my personal tip for you. Even the locals do their best to avoid Mondello during the very busy month of August. So as much as it might be a disappointment, I promise you there are other beach locations you can go to which, although will be busy during that month, you may have a better experience than visiting Palermo in August. Which leads nicely into my second tip. Just don't come to Palermo in August if you can help it. Lots of reasons why, starting from the very obvious ones connected to price and availability. August is the peak holiday month here in Italy on a whole, as it is when the Italians, generally speaking, will get their holiday leave for the entire year. So what that means is that Italians will have usually between 2 to 3 weeks. Some Italians have the entire month of August off as holiday, and a lot of Italians will have second homes close to the beach, which means that beach locations especially will become very busy during the month of August. So in terms of having a quite relaxed experience at the beach, unless you choose to go there at 6 a.m, it's highly likely it will be a very stressful and busy experience instead. There is also the holiday period of Ferragosto to contend with in August. This is a national holiday in Italy. It's usually around the 15th of the month. And on that day, you will find a lot of places closed. Italians will tend to structure their leave around that national holiday. But honestly, one of the traditions for Ferragosto is to go to the beach. So that is another time when you will find beaches in particular very busy. But another reason not to visit Italy and Palermo in the month of August, in my opinion, is that you are not going to have as authentic an experience as you might have if you chose to come in spring, autumn or winter, for example. And a reason I say that is because a lot of businesses will be closed during the month of August. So if you had a restaurant in mind that you wanted to go to, or you wanted to have a drink at a really cute bar that you'd seen on TripAdvisor or on one of my videos, you're most likely going to find it closed during that month or at certain points during that month. So you're not going to have as full an experience as you might do if you came here in a different month and in a different season. So really take it from me, August is not the best month to come to Italy. You will not see Palermo in its best condition in August. You will just see it full of people with not everything open. And I don't want you to miss the magic of what Palermo is really like when everything is fully open and operational. Okay, tip number 3, brace yourself, because Palermo is a dirty city. That's right. I love it here, but it is a dirty city. This is something that isn't new. This ongoing saga, and I call it a saga because for the 5 years that I have been consistently visiting Palermo, this has been an ongoing problem, revolves around rubbish collection in the city itself. A lot of problems connected to that, mostly to do with money and the service provider RAP, who deal with the collection of rubbish in the city. But essentially what that means for you as a tourist is you are likely to see piles of stinking rubbish in the summer sun, so much so that even tourists were taking pictures of it this summer. Now, our local newspaper for the city, Palermo Today, on a daily basis almost, is publishing stories about this rubbish problem. So I'm just telling you this because I have seen some comments on my YouTube channel recently saying, but Palermo's so dirty. I went there and I'm not coming back again. Listen, I'm telling you now, I'm being real. I could tell you about how pretty and wonderful this city is, but then if you do venture out of the tourist bubble and you see the real streets of Palermo, that is when you're going to see piles of rubbish, maybe a sofa or two dotted around on the pavement, and just people showing no real respect for their city. It is a problem. It's a very deep-rooted problem, which is why I think there hasn't been a solution found for it. But I think it is important for you to be aware of it. I don't want you to come here with unrealistic expectations. If you stay in the predominant tourist areas, especially around the cathedral, you are going to see pristine streets. You could probably eat your dinner off the floor. But if you venture out of that into the real Palermo, where the residents live, it's a totally different story. And that's something you need to be aware of. Next tip, tourist traps. They exist here, especially along Via Maqueda, Corso Vittorio Emanuele. These are like the typical tourist hotspots, Quattro Canti. There are lots of bars and restaurants around those areas, which unfortunately will charge you a lot for something that would cost you less if you were out of the main centre itself. Now, this takes a bit of research to decipher where is best to eat and where isn't. Don't worry though, because I'm in the process of creating something that will help you with that. So make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, so that you'll be the first to know about it when it's ready. But essentially, you need to do your homework, because I have seen so many tourists eating at these rip-off restaurants which will charge you a fortune for a really inexpensive dish, and you're just not going to have the most authentic experience. And it breaks my heart to see people eat at these places and drink at these places and believe that that is real Palermo, because it isn't. So do your homework. It pays to venture off the beaten track a little bit, explore, definitely go to the food markets. They are incredible, and you will find a lot of inexpensive street food there as well. But do your research. Don't just stick to the main tourist traps that I've mentioned. Plan a little bit outside of the main centre, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised about what you can find. Okay, my next tip. If you plan to hire a car here in Palermo, do not hire a Fiat or a Lancia. These two cars are renowned for being stolen in Palermo or having parts stolen from them. It's almost a weekly news story in Palermo today, talking about how another tourist has had their car stolen, and they're usually Fiats or Lancias. So avoid that headache, and if you can choose the make of car, make sure it's not one of those. There seems to be a bit of a black market for parts and for these types of cars, so just don't put yourself in that position. I think you'll be very grateful to have a different model instead. My next tip, don't leave your belongings in your car. Most obvious tip of all, but you'll be surprised at how many times I read in Palermo today of another tourist leaving their luggage in the car to come back to find either the car has been broken into and the luggage stolen, or the car has been stolen with the luggage inside. It's a really common problem, but it's common sense. Don't leave your belongings in your car. They are not safe, in visible view. in Palermo, okay? Your car should be an empty shell. Don't leave anything in it. No money, no cables, no phone chargers, no purses or bags or anything that creates the curiosity to see what else could be inside that car, okay? Treat your car as a shell. Only keep what is absolutely necessary inside it, because unfortunately, if you keep anything of value inside the car, it's 90% likely to get stolen if you're not careful. My next tip, don't wait for cars to let you cross the road. Crossing the road is an education here in Palermo. I liken it to a scene from Rocky. You've got to be strong. You've got to square up, eye contact with the drivers, because they do not like to stop even at the pedestrian crossings. It's a real problem. So make sure that you pay attention always. We don't want you to spend your holiday in hospital, but you do need to be aware that if you just wait and hope that someone's going to stop in the same way they might do in your country, you're going to spend half your day at the side of the road. So you need to be strong, eyes about, and cross that road like you mean business. Now, something to pay attention to is if you cross at a crossing where you have the green man and the green man is showing and it's safe for you to cross, if there are cars that can turn right or left onto that road, they are able to do so even if the green man is showing. So with that in mind, you need to pay attention always whenever you are crossing the road, even if the green man is showing, because yes, the cars are supposed to stop for you if you're on the crossing, but it doesn't mean they necessarily want to. So in the interests of safety, make sure you are always eyes about, looking around you, even if the green man is showing. My next tip for you is to leave the diet at home. If you are visiting Palermo, 100,000% you need to try the food here. Palermo is renowned for its street food, for its desserts and its dolce. You need to experience that for yourself. It is absolutely heavenly. So make sure that for the period of time you are here in Palermo, you experiment, you try new food, and most importantly of all, you do not go to McDonald's like I see many tourists doing here. Why would you want to do that and eat processed junk when you can eat some of the most delicious food that I've ever tasted? Honestly, embrace it. Palermo is all about the food. Italy is all about food. What unites every Italian is food. So make sure you are here to enjoy some of that. Go back to the diet when you go back home. Okay, my next piece of advice for you is that public transport is questionable, shall we say, here in Palermo. The buses are a little bit hit and miss. There is one bus route in the whole of Palermo, in my opinion, that is probably the most efficient bus route I've ever seen, only because I've been standing at the bus stop for at least an hour and I've seen like 3, 4, 5 of these buses go back and forth on like a rotation. The bus service is 101. It is the primary bus route from the train station in Palermo all the way along Via Roma, Via Liberta, up until the stadium. And it literally just does that route back and forth every single day. It's a really efficient service. So if that's the route that you need to take, you are in luck. But if you plan to take any other bus route in Palermo, best of luck. The app you need to download is Move It. This app allegedly gives you real-time information as to where the bus is and what time it should arrive. Take this with a pinch of salt, it's not always accurate, but essentially it's the only app where you're going to find the timetables of the buses. Again, loosely use these as a guide. The buses tend to arrive when they feel like it here in Palermo, but essentially when you go to a bus stop in Palermo, you're not always going to find timetables. You might not even know that you're standing at the right bus stop because they don't always even display the bus numbers. So for this reason, the app is invaluable. It's completely free to download, and I would suggest that it becomes an integral part of your holiday here if you intend to use the bus in any way, shape or form. If you are using the bus, a couple of extra things that you need to be aware of. Make sure you buy a ticket, please. You can buy bus tickets for most tabacchi, which are like news agents. in advance, and they cost €1.40 for a ticket. You need to make sure that you validate the ticket using the onboard machine when you enter. If you do not validate your ticket, or you do not have a ticket, you are liable, and the fine can be up to €50 if the ticket inspectors board the bus. And trust me, when they enter the bus, they're like balls in a china shop. I literally have never seen Italians move so fast in my life when they see a ticket inspector enter the bus, validating their tickets, making sure everything is okay. If the onboard machine isn't working, make sure you write manually onto the ticket the date and time that you boarded the bus, because the bus tickets here in Palermo are also valid for 90 minutes for both bus and tram routes. So you need to make sure you have the time printed onto your ticket as well. But please don't avoid this. I've heard of people getting fined €50 for this misdemeanor. If you forget to buy a ticket, you can purchase them on board for around €1.80, but it always pays to have a couple of tickets with you just in case. When it comes to trains, I've actually recorded a video all about how to use the train here in Italy in general, because I feel like it's an education. But the trains generally fare better compared to the buses here in Palermo, although they can be subject to delays, often quite lengthy, and cancellations. Key things to note about the trains are that, again, when you purchase a ticket, either from the ticket machine or from the ticket office, you need to validate it using the machines in the station. If you don't do that, again, you are liable for a fine if a ticket inspector boards the train. However, if you book your tickets online on the Train Italia website, then you don't need to worry about any of that, because you have a QR code that the inspector will scan instead. But watch the video that I spoke about before, which will explain everything you need to know about traveling by train. But essentially, in a nutshell, the public transport here is questionable. So I would say if you can get by without using it, I think you'll have a less stressful experience. Okay, my next tip to you centers around your personal safety. Palermo, generally speaking, is a safe city. However, there are pockets and neighborhoods within Palermo that are less desirable, shall we say. So it always pays to be aware of your surroundings and, most importantly, aware of your belongings. Now, the area around the train station in particular, and that end of Via Roma around the train station, is not great, if I'm honest. So make sure that your belongings are with you at all times.